update in the Decker sisters case. Travis Decker, their father, which is accused of unaliving all 3 children, which were found on June 1st, is on the run. There is a huge manhunt throughout the country right now with sightings in Ohio as well as Idaho. We are learning that those sightings are not Travis Decker. However, they have called in the U.S. Marshals. This is super important because we just learned in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case that Sumner County refused U.S. Marshal assistance. However, here in this state, in Washington state, where they're trying to find a crazed man that unalived his children, they are absolutely using the U.S. Marshals' help to search and find him. So it makes you wonder, if the U.S. Marshals are so good at their job, why is Sumner County refusing their assistance? Now, getting back to this case with the Decker sisters, this is Paityn, which is 9 years old, Evelyn, 8 years old, and Olivia, only 5 years old. Their mother loved these beautiful children. She gave them a beautiful home, provided them a beautiful life, and just wanted them to thrive and thrive well. Unfortunately, her military husband fell ill to mental illness, had a lot of problems going on with him, and she ultimately divorced him. When she divorced him, he became homeless. He could no longer take care of himself, and he had an unstable environment for his 3 children. His wife went to court multiple times trying to limit his ability to have the children overnight and to remove visitation until he had a more stable environment. However, the courts kind of met in the middle and took away his overnight visits, however, allowed the kids to see him 3 hours a day, several times a week. And on May 30th, for a scheduled visit, he was supposed to return them at 8 p.m., and he failed to show up. The mother concerned, but I doubt she ever anticipated something like this. Chelan County Sheriff's Department did put on a press conference, and their press conference was pretty thorough. So we're going to turn it over to the sheriff. Let me know what your thoughts are about the conversation. If you have any questions, please let me know, and we will do our best to try to find those answers. If you guys could do me a favor and take just a few moments and hit that like button, I'd greatly appreciate it. We thrive on getting information out to our audience, and you are part of that help. So we appreciate any help you can provide me here at the Bullhorn Betty channel. God bless each and every one of you, and please pray for this family, especially this mother. My heart aches for her.
Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia are clearly a motivating force for us. A lot of our guys are working with sleep deprivation, but their thoughts are always on the girls and making sure that we're staying motivated and getting the results the family expects out of us. We have learned so far through our investigation today that he is well versed in outdoor survival. And talking with his father, it sounds at times that he would go out and would be living off grid for sometimes up to 2.5 months. So we also understand too that he at times would do caching. So we understand that that's a possibility, that he could have scoped out this area before, put supplies out there, and has the ability and the knowledge to survive for a long period of time. We're getting more confirmation that he might have possibly gone through mountain survival school, but we also know too that he's been an outdoorsman since he was a kid. Talking with a parent, it seemed like this was something that he was attracted to, like doing in his free time. So clearly some of the knowledge he's probably acquired throughout his lifetime, in addition to the training he might or might not have acquired through the Army, is something that we're taking into consideration. And we've also had a forensics electronic detective going through the cell phone and other electronic items that we've collected on the scene. And today, as I was leaving our emergency operations center, we did have members of the Washington State Patrol that were processing some of the cell phones we located in the vehicle. They were discovered earlier this week. It was outside Leavenworth. You're more up icicle drainage around milepost 18, around Rock Island Campground. And worst case scenario, we could see that he might have gotten a head start on Friday, so he would have had the whole weekend to be out there. But we're still tracking it down. We will have our autopsy results. It should be coming back tomorrow, and we'll get a better idea of what kind of time frame we're looking at. I can tell you so far today we had a possible sighting on East Leavenworth Road. We checked that out. It was not Mr. Decker. We had another one out at milepost 83, US 2. And then, of course, we continue to hear information about other possible sightings from across the nation. As we understood, based off the information we got back, was that the sighting in McCall, Idaho was not our suspect. We are aware of other connections he has. We've interviewed friends, co-workers. We're optimistic that we can track down his location. But our primary goal is to track him down. Of course, we want to make sure that he's safe, but ultimately he will be brought to justice. this time, we have not found Travis. My message is still the same. Travis, if you're out there seeing us, we'd like you to turn yourself in. We want a peaceful resolution to this, but we're not going to relinquish our efforts and giving up any effort that we can proceed to track you down. Clearly, it's not the decision of a sound mind, and these young girls were a victim.
Let me know your thoughts on the press conference as well as this case, which is about Paityn, 9 years old, Evelyn, 8 years old, and Olivia, just 5 years old. Please keep them and their mother, Whitney, in your thoughts and prayers. May God bless you and those watching.
Well, thank you guys for that, for allowing me to play that intro for you. There is a manhunt underway right now for Travis Decker. Travis Decker is the father of 3 beautiful baby angels right now, and he is accused of unaliving them in a horrific fashion and leaving them to be found. Nobody knows where he is. We're going to be breaking down some information related to the manhunt and, possibilities. Many of you guys know that it is my opinion that we're not going to be finding an alive Travis Decker. However, we're not here for my opinions. We're here for the facts of the case. We're here for information related to Travis Decker and his whereabouts. So we are going to be talking about what is being released from law enforcement today, what is happening, where they believe he's going, and some more details related to this tragedy that claimed the lives of 3 beautiful girls. Olivia, 5 years old, Evelyn, 8 years old, and Paityn, 9 years old, found bound and asphyxiated. So thank you for being here, Eeyore. Melanie, it's nice to see you. The Real Me Too. Phil, good afternoon. Riv is up in the house. It's nice to see you, River. Dawn, Powder Puff, good morning. Well, you'd be right on it. I'm not sure if you're being rude or you're being funny, so we'll let it pass. Medic Bikers up in the house. Peggy, Leslie, it's nice to see you. Kaylee, me and you. Donna, it's nice to see you. Hello, good afternoon. Mary, Betty fan, our birthday girl, kind of, sort of, not much of a birthday girl anymore, but we're always happy to celebrate here on the Bullhorn Betty channels. Who else do we have up in the house? Grave Crime with Grace is here. It's nice to see you. Kara loves embroidery and crime shows. Alicia Hot Wheels, got an opportunity to hear from her on our morning show. Prayer Warrior, good morning, or good afternoon. I'm going to keep saying that. So if I say good morning to you, I mean good afternoon, okay? Nanette, it's nice to see you. Good afternoon. I'm getting it. West Virginia Holler Girl, it's nice to see you. We definitely need him found. Everyone's looking. I'm keeping my doors locked. I doubt he'll be in anyone's view, though. Yeah, we're gonna get talking about that, because I am on the fence a little bit. There's some information coming out I don't like hearing it. I don't like the possibility of it. Leslie, it's nice to see you. Good afternoon. Victoria, good afternoon. Lisa C, hello, my love. It's nice to see you up in the chat. YouTuber, Gigi for Life. Patty, Kaz, it's nice to see you. If you are in the chat and you cannot comment, it's not because Bullhorn Betty or chat doesn't love you. It's because we set a 1-day subscriber only mode on here. So if you subscribe, you'll be able to chat with us tomorrow. But in the interim, if you do have questions or do have perspectives that you'd like me to know about, you can email that to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. Joni, it's nice to see you. Jamie, good afternoon. And I think we got everybody. So welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started.
this is a case that's capturing the world, I think, right now. Three beautiful girls were reported missing, and then a couple days later, they were found, bound and deceased. And many people are wondering why and how did we get here. We are on that same vein. We want to know how in the world we got here, what changes need to be made. If anybody knows anything about our channel, we are not just here to cover these stories. We're here to understand why we're covering these stories. And we're here to advocate for changes across this country so that we can limit the possibility of them being able to do it again or another family doing it again. So we really hone in on different perspectives than maybe other channels. We don't just hone in on just the details. We really want to know down to a granular, factor of how we got here. Is there things that need to be changed in our society to prevent a situation like this from happening in the future? And this is one of those cases where we can say, yes, we can identify several things that not only can we advocate for these children, but we can start strongly advocating for changes that I think we can all agree need to be made. This morning on our show on the Bullhorn Betty channel, we were discussing, veterans, and maybe it was this morning at 2 when I went live because I couldn't sleep last night. I can't remember, but we got into a conversation about veterans and how we all feel. Now, we all come from different walks of life. Despite what you guys believe, I have a political viewpoint and you guys have political viewpoints. Sometimes our political viewpoints gel well with each other, and sometimes they don't. We're not here for politics, we're here for true crime. But there is an aspect of that is political. And what do I mean by that? Because we all agree, especially when we're covering children's cases, there's so much changes that need to be made in our policies, our United States policies. And that's where the avocation, the political avocation, comes in with the help of the people here on this channel, is because we identify that these need change. In this particular case, we're dealing with veteran affairs, which is something that I fight for the veterans here in Manatee County a lot. You guys know that we went to bat for a rehab facility to help and shelter some veterans that are struggling with substance abuse or alcohol abuse. When it comes to fighting for, to resolve our personal veteran homeless problem here in Manatee County, I'm there with a group of people to help fight for our veterans. The one thing that you guys hear is fighting for them because they fought for us abroad, so we have an opportunity to speak freely. So we have an opportunity to carry those guns that many people think that we shouldn't have, that we have the opportunity to fight for our rights, our civil rights, our Bill of Rights. There's a lot of things that go into this, and we should, above all else, be taking care of veterans. We have a lot of veterans we need to take care of. There's no doubt about it. And the list is growing. And yes, Unicorn, freedom is not free. So this is going to be the political aspect of it for our show. And that political aspect of it is, I don't think that this is a a one-sided argument. I think this is a bipartisan argument. I think we all agree that we need to take care of those that take care of us. And we can all agree that our veterans give us what we cannot give ourselves, our freedoms. And trust me, outside of the United States, there are many countries that want to see doom and gloom upon the United States, that want to take over our country, that want to make us slaves to their will, not ours. And our veterans protect us from all of that. What's going on in Gaza could be the United States if not for our military. Let's not forget. We've got two different countries on either side of the United States that we play nice with, so we don't have to be knocking at the door of war on our soil. That is what our veterans give to us. And so the least we can do is when we send them over to fight these wars and really screw their lives up, the least the American people can do is take care of them when they're battered and bruised and come home to us. That is the least we, as the society of the American Republic, can do for our veterans. And so many times we fail our veterans, and we fail them in large numbers. And this has to stop. And this is where our political advocacy, whether we're on the right, the left, or straight down the middle, this is something we can all get on board with and start advocating for. Making sure if you have political friends or advocates in your area, you're feeding them this information that we must make changes to the VA benefits and make sure our veterans are taken care of and whole when they come home, along with their families. Because let's face it, for every military person that serves, they typically have 2 to 4 other people that are serving right with them. And if you don't believe that, you go talk to a military family. You go talk to the children of a military personnel. And you tell me that they're not all serving. You tell me they're not all serving. So I feel some type of way about this Travis Decker case. Many of you guys know that I believe he's deceased, but some new information has come out from law enforcement. It's making its rounds in the media, and I've got to tell you, it's alarming because they believe that he started planning this a week before. That's a problem for me because I rely on Whitney, which again, from the very beginning, I said we have to understand she is very vulnerable. She cannot possibly be thinking clearly because of what she's going through, as you can imagine. And you probably can't imagine. You could probably imagine a smidget, but what the reality of these parents are going through is far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Okay. And she had her whole entire life ripped from her. So she can't possibly, she's probably trying to justify it and understand it herself. So when she said she believed her husband, that something snapped in her husband that day, law enforcement is really telling us that it doesn't look that way. This looks well thought out and well planned, which is a problem for me. A very much big, huge problem for me because there are elements in my assessments of the case. Hey, SRK, it's nice to see you. Little Orange Man, nice to see you as well. And some of those is relying on other people's assessments or better knowledge of the subject matter, such as a wife knowing her husband, right? Are we relying too much on her assessment that Travis just broke on May 30th? Because she said that he seemed normal when he picked up the kids. But we're hearing reports from some of the people that worked with Travis, predominantly his boss, that seemed to think that he was on the brinks of a break, a mental break. And those weren't conveyed obviously earlier, and I don't know if he would have called the ex-wife, to tell her that he thought his employee was about to have a mental health breakdown. But either way, that's what's being conveyed by the boss. And so now we're hearing from law enforcement that it sounds like he was planning this up to 7 days prior to getting those children. And that means, we have the catching now comes back into play, which I didn't think would be in play because we're hearing of a disoriented man, a man that loves his children and just had this mental health breakdown and unalived his kids. That's, kind of the way Whitney is justifying what happened to herself and conveying that out to the public. But this is going to mean so much more if he truly planned to harm his children and carried that out. But we've just learned recently, and we did a video on it, we've had discussions about it, that some of those searches, electronic data searches, Google searches, if you will, stated how to relocate to Canada, how to get a job in Canada. And so many of them thinks he's migrating to Canada. And one thing we learned about the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case is basically when the search efforts were underway for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, we didn't realize it at the time until we started talking about the case and breaking it down, that we realized that Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, if he truly left on foot, would have most likely been outside of the search area before the search even started. And if we are relying, again, despite my belief, which is based on assessments and personal assessments and other people's opinions of Travis, which is leading me to believe he's going to unalive himself if he hasn't already. But now that we have a new element into this case, and that new element is that law enforcement believes he was planning this up to a week before this happened, that's a whole different factor. You're not talking about somebody that that just broke, or somebody that just had a PTSD event. You're talking about, and I learned that he was very, very, very nasty to Whitney before they divorced. So we're hearing some more information, and all of those assessments, all of that information is giving me a behavioral and psychological assessment, or helping me to derive an assessment based on those factors. So if those factors are wrong, the assessment is going to be wrong, and why I always seek for the most factual information we can have, because 3 days ago we were looking at a man that loved his family, never was abusive. I believe verbal abuse is abuse. Okay. I believe being nasty to somebody and calling them name is abuse. And maybe some people don't believe that's abuse, but I am one of those people that believe whenever you speak to somebody like crap, you are abusing them. Verbal abuse and mental abuse is abuse. And it's abuse that keep people locked away. Me personally, I've had both types of abuse, all types of abuse, actually. Abuse, psychological abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and I've got to tell you, I would take physical abuse above all else, because the psychological and the mental and the verbal abuse, that really tears you down mentally. The other tears you down physically and sometimes mentally, and it does take it takes a lot out of you, even physically, because there's a level of mental illness that goes along with that, almost like a Stockholm syndrome, if you will, when it comes to staying with your abuser and stuff like that, that has to be broken before you leave. Because if you don't break the cycle, what ends up happening is you just find the same man, just a different face. And you constantly go back to that same person, just a different name, different guy, but it's the same guy. It's always the same guy when you are codependent, and you're codependent on an abuser, on an abuser. So now I'm having some more elements that he wasn't as, sweet and kind. He was good, but he went to Afghanistan. It screwed him up. He came back a different man. This man was more verbally abusive to his wife, but never injured his children. He's the one that initiated the divorce, probably because he felt like an a-hole and a worthless a-hole, because he was acting like that's how he felt, right? Your behavior does kind of define how you feel, right? When you have a crappy day, people know it, because you treat them, you're not as bubbly or sweet as you were when you're having a good day. So people can tell when you're having a bad day or a good day. And I have to think that he just knew this was not fair to his family at some points. That tells me he does have lucid thoughts. And so he initiated the divorce, even though he was the one being the nasty person in the marriage. So that tells me a lot about him as a person. And that's not a bad quality. That's an integrity and quality. And so that shows me he has a little bit of integrity. And that's important to me. But this whole thing of him planning it and possibly planning it for a week before, and then hearing that they didn't find the girls until Monday, they disappeared on Friday. They were supposed to be returned at 8 p.m. The mom knew something was wrong when she didn't have them Saturday. I can't even imagine. She must have been a nervous wreck. Law enforcement, she was pleading with law enforcement to send out an Amber Alert. They refused to do that. They didn't believe that they were in danger. They didn't have proof that they were in danger. And then boom, Monday comes around. Some of their evidence comes in from the different data pools that they did, and they located an area that they may be in. They went out and they found the girls in an embankment near his truck, and they're gone. Well, the same thing applies as it did in the Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers case, because if you calculate it, which I did, and we're going to show you guys that, we have a lot more distance than we thought we did between what they think happened. Okay? So kind of here's a little bit of the map. Let me see if I can get this blown up a little bit. Well, it's going to be kind of hard because of the distance. So this is where the campground is, way down here. And this is where they kind of believe his path of travel is going to be, that they believe he's kind of heading north into Canada. Well, this is about a 229 mile, that's on the road. You can kind of cut down a lot of mileage if you're on foot, because you can go more as a direct angle versus having to do the roadways, which has to move and navigate through the mountains and stuff like that. But if there's a path that you can go straight, you might be able to get there sooner than taking the roads, which we know he's most likely not going to be on any roads, and he's most likely going to be traveling at night if he's traveling. So it's about 229 miles. 229 miles. So let's see here. I think I calculated it wrong. So 229 miles. Let me calculate. Let me figure out how to calculate. Let me put my face back up here. And it's about 17. Oh, yeah, it's about 17 miles per hour. So a person can walk about, I'd have to say, it's between 17 and 22 minutes, but I have to think that he is a military trained person. He looked very fit, athletic. And so I'd have to think that he is probably at the lower part of that. So he's going to be probably around a 17 or 18 minute mile. And so I calculated that, and it's going to be 16 hours. Did you guys hear that? 16 hours to walk 229 miles. 16 hours. There were over 48 hours that had passed from the time the children were reported missing to the time law enforcement found their precious little bodies. There were over 48 hours. So what am I trying to say? If he truly is moving and migrating north to Canada, he would have already been in Canada before they found the girls. So that's the situation we're dealing with, and it's very important. And the good news is that we're covering the Lily and Jack case, which is also in Canada. So we're already pulling in some Canadian viewers. And so this is a great time to start, putting out the call to action to our Canadian partners and our Canadian content creators. It's time for you guys to pick up the baton and start getting some flyers of Travis Decker out to your people. If you have a good platform in Canada, Jessica Danielle, she's a great one. I believe she's in Canada. This is a great opportunity for her to start getting some information out to her people there. But I think we need to start really, if you're from Canada, pass this case around. Even though it's not a case in your country, it's a case that might be knocking on your front door. So this is a dangerous man from the United States heading your way. And so we need to get the alerts out there to everybody in BC. I looked it up. So Vancouver and all of these other places. So there's Abbotsford, Surrey, Richmond, Chilliwack. I mean, these are all Mission. These are all places just over the border that he would have access to depending on where he's moving in there. If you guys are from those communities, start picking up the phone and start calling your people, start sending these, putting his face into those Facebook chats so people can start getting familiar with his very unclean cut and a very clean cut Travis Decker. Again, I truly believe at some point that's based on if he had this break. And from what law enforcement is describing to us today is a very premeditated situation. And if this truly is this premeditated, then we've already classified him as a family annihilator here on this channel. The one thing that I have with the whole family annihilators, and I think I discussed this yesterday with each and every one of you, is the fact that in all of our cases where we have a family annihilator situation, such as Alec Murdaugh, he tried to unalive himself, just fell a little short, right? We've got Anthony Tott from Orange or Osceola County in Florida. He unalived his entire family, slept with their bodies in the house for 2 weeks, and including their unaliving their dog Breezy. So they always want to take the whole entire family out, including themselves. But it's always seems in these family annihilating situations that they always take the family out, no problem, even the kids and the dog. But somehow they just fall a little short from being able to take themselves out. You know, they always intended to do it. But just for some reason, they have no problem with their children, their family pet, their wife, you know. But somehow, when it comes to being their turn, something always happens. They either just don't drink enough, they ran out of bullets, or somehow the bag that they were putting over their head had a big old hole in it. They can't quite figure it out. So, you know, is this man, you know, that's why I've been bouncing back and forth and why I tell you guys everything, both sides of it, you know, why we discuss this, because there is a piece of me that believes he's on the run, but I guess a part of me is very hopeful that he's not this monster because, you know, Whitney kind of described a different man to all of us. And I think we're just kind of hoping that that man reappears, you know, and puts an end to all of this, or, you know, snaps out of it and realizes what he did. And I keep thinking that when he snaps out of it, he's going to the weight of the act is going. Could we see pictures? It looked like he loves his children. He loves his children, plays with them. I watch videos. Now, granted, that's what the world gets to see. We don't know how bad it was behind closed doors, but at the end of the day, you got a dad that gives a crap about his kids. His girls were his world, many say. His world. And he took his world out. That tells me the direction of his psychological mentality. Out. Lights out. That's why I'm on here thinking that he's somewhere in those woods. They just need to find him because he ain't moving. But it's much different if we find out he planned it. Now, I keep thinking in the back of my mind that this is that they're making a mountain out of a molehill. They're not taking this. They're following this case like they would follow any normal case that has premeditating factors in it, not something that is one that is like a broken, you know, just you snap like your normal 1 minute and you just snap. Okay. And so that's what Whitney is describing to us, but law enforcement is describing this monster of a man that planned to execute his 3 kids and carried that out and is now fleeing to another country to elude law enforcement. That's what law enforcement's putting out. And then I see the photos and the videos of this man, and I have to make the decision for myself what I'm truly seeing. Am I seeing this monster, or am I seeing a broken man? Right? And so what I truly believe I am seeing is a broken man. And if that's a broken man that just snuffed his world away, he's deceased. He's not breathing right now. But if law enforcement is right, and he planned this a week out, then yeah, he might be on the run. But here's what I really think happened. Mark my words, because I might be right. I got a 50-50 chance of being accurate on this statement. I believe that he was, maybe earlier in the week, he was just like, you know what? Canada's right here. They've got to have a better job market, right? They must have a better job market. Why not just look to see if they have a better job market? Found a job, see the price. It's like, they do have a better job market. Let me check and see how to relocate to Canada. Checking to relocate to Canada earlier in the week, right? So you go about your business and throughout the week, and then all of a sudden you pick up the kids, you have a normal day, and then you have a break. And you snuff your kids out, and maybe they're 2 separate things, but because of the situation, they're thinking it's a part of it. But it's not. It was just something he was searching earlier in the week that has literally no connection to what happened to the girls on Friday. There is that possibility, because think about it. What did you search this week? I searched dismemberment. If somebody around me, happens to pop up dismembered, does it mean I did it? You see what I'm saying? So it one didn't have to do with the other, even though we have a situation where I was searching dismemberment, and Judy Jones down the road. Or maybe I shouldn't say Judy Jones. I think we have a we have an audience member. Jane Doe down the road was dismembered. Did Betty do it? No. I didn't. I was just searching for work. So I'm really trying to play this safe, and I want to convey everything law enforcement wants conveyed out there to the public on one hand, but on another hand, I feel some type of way, because I feel like a piece of me, I feel like I'm the only one seeing this. And I feel like, we keep hearing about how he's moving, and is law enforcement putting all the resources into, monitoring this phantom movement? Because we haven't heard that there's been any hits from dogs. We haven't heard of any campsites that they found. That we haven't heard of any DNA that they found along this trail to Canada or anything. We haven't heard of any surveillance footage of him being spotted somewhere. We haven't heard of anybody missing any vehicles or anybody missing any clothes off the clothesline. We haven't heard anything of people finding out that their cabin was broken into and food is missing, or it looked like somebody was staying there. We're not getting any of those indicators that we typically have in a case where we're on a national manhunt, And so it keeps making me come back to, are they following leads because there was Canada in his search history, and so they're like, oh, he planned this a week ago. I mean, he was even talking about moving to Canada a week ago, and it just not have anything to do with it. And it's taking them like a Brian Laundrie, where they uproot the entire investigation and move it 45 minutes away, and come to find out, Brian Laundrie was right under their nose where they were before they moved the search efforts. I feel like, I don't know why this is overcoming me like it is, but I feel, and I keep wanting to scream from the rooftops, that I believe he's there. I believe they're missing him. I believe that this case could be resolved if they get in Rock Island Campground. Like, I really just feel like he's there somewhere. I really do. And if he's not, he's somewhere in the surrounding community, but I still believe he's deceased. Because what the mom is describing and what law enforcement is describing are two totally different people. And we know how law enforcement are. Sometimes they just won't listen. They just are off base, and they just will not listen because they know better than everybody else, because this is what they do and they do it, they shut down and they don't listen. So I don't know what's going on out here because I don't have eyes or ears out here in the area. But it seems like Rock Island campground is still closed down right now. So I feel like they're still looking there, because that's what they did with Brian Laundrie. They closed it down, and as soon as it was opened back up to the public, we went straight in there, and we never left. And we still couldn't find him until 5 weeks later. And then literally his parents went out there, and the whole thing went to, does anybody know him? Does anybody know his connection to this Rock Island campground? Has he stayed there before? Did he go there as a child? Is there an area of the campground that he just loves? Those are the questions that I would be asking. Does he have any place in and around that area that he was at as a child? Or someplace he loved frequently, maybe a fishing hole that he may have loved going to? Is that near there? I would be looking for places like that for this particular case. But that's just my opinion. We all have them. We have our opinions. But the facts are, law enforcement believes he is alive. Law enforcement believes he is moving. Law enforcement believes he is fleeing. And we're learning today that law enforcement believes he planned this for up to a week before it happened, which is, again, very shocking for me, because Whitney's description of Travis is much different than what law enforcement is describing to us. Is he a monster? Is he a monster? Is he a broken man, or is he a monster? I'm struggling to find the answer. But we are going to keep looking. We are going to keep searching to find answers about this. So far, no sightings. Guys, do me a favor. If you hear of any sightings of this man, if you hear of any information related to this case or the manhunt into Travis Decker, please send it to me immediately. bullhornbetty@gmail.com. But do me one additional favor. Put important, breaking, or read now. Something that is directing me that this is very, very important, and I need to stop what I'm doing and look at it. We are on the hunt for this man, okay? This is real life. 3 beautiful girls are deceased, and if there is any possibility of this man roaming free after doing such a heinous act that he did, we want him behind bars. We want to bring him to justice. And more importantly, we want to find out what in the world happened and why we are here. The why is key, because whatever this why is has got to be fixed in our society. So this is not some other 3 young girls or 3 young boys' future. And that's what we strive for. Guys, don't forget to pass me around. Let people know that we are covering the Decker case here on the Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories show. I hope you guys come aboard, start coming over here, and start getting some information. We have too many things going on right now that I can't keep all of these cases on one channel. Otherwise, would have very limited, would only have bits and pieces of the information and no real talking or discussion of information. So the key takeaways of this show right now is, if we are to listen to law enforcement, and law enforcement believes that Travis is moving and has been moving since he unalived his children, in my opinion, when they started the manhunt, he was already outside of their radius that they were searching. So if he was on the run, all of that time that they spent searching, was all for nothing because he wasn't even in the area. By the time they found the girls, he would have already entered Canada. Somehow, some way, he may have snuck in there. He may have snuck into Canada. Canada may not even know that they have a child unaliver in their area. So, guys, if you are in the Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack, Surrey, I think I said that right, West Vancouver, Richmond, those areas, you guys need to be on high alert. This man could be in your barn. So, what I'm going to ask for all of my people to do that are in that area of Canada, if you are in any of those areas that I just read out, I'm going to ask you to start checking your property twice a day. But here's the kicker. I don't want you going alone, and I don't want you going without a phone. Hold on, guys. It looks like my camera just went out. I don't know why it went out. It looks like it's on, but give me just a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know why it does that. It does that every now and then. I was just sitting here and it just said, boop, you're gone. So check your properties. Pay close attention. These are the things that anybody's going to need. Now, if he did plan this, then they're alleging he would have had survival packs throughout his travel into Canada. But he's still going to need some type of resources and food and stuff. You can pack for so long, but at some point that stuff runs out. So you're looking for, say, shirts, pants, anything that's in his size, boots, shoes, anything that's outside that can be used for walking, any type of weaponry. Is there a pickaxe missing? Is there, a shovel missing? I think a shovel would be too big to be taking with him, but who knows? Who knows if he needs to bury himself underground to cover himself up during the day while he sleeps, then maybe he does need a shovel. Again, I don't know. But check your properties. If anything's missing, if you have a cabin in this area, have your neighbors or you go check on the cabin. See if anybody's been staying there. Is there food missing out of there? Does it appear that somebody's been sleeping, cleaning, or cooking in your home? Is there any clothing missing? Any shoes missing? Any weaponry missing of any kind? Anything like blankets or pillows missing? Backpacks missing? Other items, belts, knives, tools, other types of tools. So be on the lookout and don't think you're going crazy, okay? A lot of people do this. This is by far one of the biggest problems we have is people forget. We're all forgetful, right? I have this pen here and I'm walking around cleaning up and I just lay it somewhere. I know I laid it on a table, but I forget which table I laid it on, right? It was here 1 minute and now it's gone. It's not a trick of your mind. It was there. It's missing. Why is it missing? Because somebody just took it. If something is outside, you knew it was outside and it is now missing, as minor as it may be in a situation like this, please go ahead and report it to your local law enforcement because you just never know. It truly might mean something a lot more than you think. All right, guys, that's what I have for the update on the Decker sisters as well as Travis Decker's manhunt. And I never got to my punchline on Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers' case, Ghosted. So when we're back at 6 o'clock on the main channel, I'm going to finish up this morning's show because I forgot to tell you why we had ghosted on the thumbnail. But we went down a couple little, tangents and what have you this morning. So it is what it is. But I'm glad you all got to come over here, learn a little more about the Decker sisters as well as their father and the manhunt that's underway right now to bring their father to justice. I don't know what to think. I truly believe if what Whitney described is true and accurate, we're looking for a deceased man. If what what law enforcement is describing to us is accurate, then we're looking for a man that just unalived 3 of his children intentionally with premeditation and took off and ran out of the country. Either way you look at it, we need him and need to bring him to justice to find out what is going on with him. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, kind to one another. And guys, please do not forget, we will be back on the main channel at 6 p.m. to close out our day with the update and breaking news on the Lily and Jack Sullivan case out of Nova Scotia. So please join me over on our main channel tonight at 6 p.m. so we can discuss Lily and Jack Sullivan. We'll see you soon. And I hope you guys are enjoying these little nuggets of information. Now, if you have questions on these cases, please send me an email. Because if you've got questions about any of these cases, Sebastian's case, Lily and Jack's case, or the Decker case, if you send me the email, I can discuss it on the show. Because if you have those questions, then many other people may also have those questions. So it's something that if you're stuck on something or you're unclear on something, let's get to the bottom of it. It might uncover something else. We never know. We never know. What I do have a problem with here is we don't have any search videos. We have no, there's so much mainstream media covering this particular case out there in Chelan County, but what we don't have is any video footage, none of their command posts, none of this active search efforts, none of the helicopters in the sky. Where is the media? Where is the true reporting on this case? Mainstream media, you need to get out there and you need to get the content. We're missing content. You're not doing your job, folks. I love mainstream media, but I hate it all the same. We need some footage. We don't have enough footage of what's going on out there to bring these kids unaliver to justice. All right, we'll see you soon, guys. Be back 6 p.m. 6 p.m. God bless.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.